What's up, everybody? Welcome to Livestream. Welcome. Ooh, ASMR. Watch ASMR. Yeah, get that sucker tightened up. I was just fixing the hands on this. I was going to wear this watch today, and I noticed that the hands were binding up. The seconds hands was rubbing against the minute hand in certain positions, and that annoyed me. So just real quick, I was like, oh, I'm going to fix it. Watch ASMR. Ooh, that's kind of nice. And now, hopefully, yeah, we're going to put this minute hand at 20 minutes past. Maybe 22 is where it was binding. We're going to see if the seconds hands binds up against it. Yeah, let's see. Quality content. Here it goes. Yeah. Well, I'm not going to sit here for 30 more seconds. We'll come back to that. This was it's a San Martin. It's a Chinese watch company, and it's a Rolex Explorer 2 homage, or Black Bay Pro if you like. Except I didn't like that. I didn't like the dial had the San Martin logo on it. I'm not a fan of it. It's just kind of like So I got a sterile dial for it, and then it also had the wrong color GMT hand. It's supposed to have an orange GMT hand, but oh, here we go. And it didn't bind up. Isn't that nice? Yay. Great. Now I have a working watch again. Well, now I'll keep this one on for now. Oh, welcome to the live stream. Now that's off my mind. I'm sorry, what are we here? Are we here to just watch me, like, work on watches? That could be a good live stream. There's a dude who makes, like, hour-and-a-half long... What's upside down? Hour-and-a-half long videos where he repairs and reconditions these watches. And I find them extremely, like, soothing to watch. Extremely soothing, just... He quietly 07 takes apart people's watches. It's pretty cool. But that's not what you're here for. You're here to talk about FPV and answer your questions about FPV. And Blunty's got the queue going. So let's get in the zone. It's supposed to be an enameled dial, but it's not. It bugs me. Any update on the AOS HS5? I want to build it. What do you think? I did post an update about the HS5 a little while back. You may have missed it. The video was titled The Alleged 200-mile-an-hour Drone. Oh, sorry, wrong screen. The Alleged 200-mile-an-hour Drone returns! I did show some footage of it. I showed some footage of it going 170 miles an hour. I have footage of it going pretty damn fast. Well, it's a little hard to tell because, you know, whoever was piloting it, not me, it wouldn't be illegal. But this footage that was on the air unit when I got it back from being repaired showed it going that fast. And then somewhat shortly thereafter, it Wait, is this the 170?
There was footage on it.
Yeah.
And it started. It flew through.
So I done
Advertised speed. I know.
I don't have DVR from where. Then it smoked the ESC. So I would say the HS5 is a fine drone, but I would not put the Rotor Riot flight controller and ESC on it because I don't think that ESC was up to the task. That was my experience. Blunty, is there a question that relates to Flywoo and the O4? Or because I feel like that's worth calling out right here at the top of the stream. I don't know if there's a question per se.
Well,
Flywoo
a user just asked, with regards to the DJI ban, what do you think of CADX or RunCam or some other third-party company selling air units again in the U.S. to kind of skirt the ban?
Yes. So that has always been my, well, I shouldn't take any credit for this. I have observed when others have pointed out that DJI has done this with some of their other products. There is a drone that's basically like a DJI Mini, but it's not DJI. It's some other company. The software, the app is identical. It's basically a DJI. It's clear that it's just a relabeled DJI drone, whether that's explicit or not. And there is a camera. There was a little camera that someone was showing a video about. I saw a short about it, and it was identical. Even if you opened it up, it's identical internally to a DJI camera and even works with DJI accessories. So clearly it's the same product. The problem with that will be that the prohibited entities list, the wording prohibits any sort of derivative or, affiliate company. I don't know the exact wording, but it tries to head off this exact thing, although how effective it will be at doing that is anybody's guess. In this case, Flywoo is selling the DJI O4 Air unit. There it is. But they're selling it in a Flywoo package. There you go. And yeah.
And the Pro.
Oh, yeah. They also have the Pro. Fair enough. Super Guy points out you can order a Flywoo drone, and under add-ons, you can add replacement VTXs. The invoice will be listed as a modification. So DJI is trying to work with certain vendors to get around this. Nevertheless, it's kind of weird. Blunty, you and I were talking before the stream. Apparently, it's not just the United States that's been out of O4s forever. In the last 6 months, it's been very difficult to get an O4 Air unit. And then there was a bunch of them that came in.
O4 Pro. I just want to be clear. O4 Pro. The O4 Air unit is very easy to get. GetFB has them in stock. RDQ has them in stock. They've been in stock lately. No, not a big issue, just to be clear.
Gotcha.
But O4 Pros have been really difficult to get.
Well, that's the one
That's
you
why
want.
I think it's important to say that Flywoo has the O4 Pro, because that's the only place you can order it right now, as far as I know.
Gotcha. Let's look. The O4 Pro. Naked O4 Pro. No. Where is it? DJI Air Unit Pro. Yeah, there you go. $249. 7-day no reason return. Well, I don't know about that. Original package? No original package. You pick. Sold out.
Yeah, and to be clear, it's a pre-order. It seems like people have been in chat anywhere from 3 to 5 weeks is what people were saying they've got the return on. But basically, this is a way to order it. Eventually you'll get an O4 Pro coming to you, and most other places won't even pre-order it for you. So just an option, so you know. And it seems like this may be an option even after the change in the rules. Yeah. Sure.
Of course, DJ. So that's encouraging. What I've said is that DJI O4 Air, O4 Pros have been hard to get, and probably will not become easier to get after the December 24th deadline and the DJI gets added to the prohibited entities list. And when people ask me, should I get into DJI today, or should I wait, or should I get into something else? I say, well, it used to be that was an unqualified sure. If you're thinking about getting DJI, you'll probably be happy with it. And now it's like, well, it's not, I don't know if it's that you absolutely won't be able to get them, but there will be more hoops to jump through. They'll be harder to get. And so it's just a question of if you want to deal with that. Here is a sign of the way that DJI is potentially, well, I don't know if getting around is the right word. It's still a huge disruption, right? that they have to do all this nonsense instead of just selling direct. It's probably good for Flywoo. But yeah, this is how they'll respond to it if they want to keep selling. That's for sure. Yeah, the other thing we talked about, Blunty, related to DJI is DJI put out a call to like, oh, call your senator, call your congressman. It's like, DJI, it's too late, man. It's too late. That ship has sailed. Like, it's a done deal. I don't know what you're talking about. You know, no one's, oh, now we'll call her a month. What is it, the 23rd of November? Literally like a month to the day almost from the deadline. That the ship isn't going to change course in that time. They're not going to, and I don't know why, like, you see what happened with TikTok, where the government was, TikTok bad, national security threat. And then TikTok was like, hey, how about we sell you half of TikTok for, $1 billion and whatever amount. I don't know the amount. It's a huge amount. And, you can just run the company. And they were like, oh, suddenly we're not so mad about TikTok anymore, And I guess I understand why DJI might be like, no, F you. We're going to keep our company. But it is interesting that they haven't made that move. They haven't tried to. We haven't seen, like, when the government imposed tariffs on Swiss watches. There was a Swiss bureaucrat in the Oval Office, and he had like a Rolex desk clock, on the Trump's desk, and was basically there, bribing him with praise and gifts, as you do in any functioning democracy. I was like, why have we not seen DJI doing these same moves? It's interesting. Not that they should, but it is interesting that they haven't. But, if DJI isn't going to make a huge donation to the Trump Presidential Library and Big Mac Fund, or in some other way try to, personally appeal to the president, which seems to be how things are done these days, then I don't know why they think asking the public to write letters is going to be the thing that turns the tide. There you go. Trump Jr. is on the board of Unusual Machines. That is true. I don't think that has as much impact as people think. It's like what I've said before is people see individual breadcrumbs and they assume that because those are the breadcrumbs that they see, those are the facts that are relevant. And they sort of put, string between the breadcrumbs and they're like, aha, we figured out the story. The reality is that so much of this, what drives these decisions is going on completely out of view of the public. So the fact that Trump Jr. is on the board of Unusual Machines is not irrelevant, but like the DJI ban was in the works before that happened. And of all the companies who might benefit from DJI being out of the market, I think Unusual Machines is relatively low on the list. Red Cat, which, by the way, is a separate company from Unusual Machines. Red Cat owns Teal drones. And absolutely, like you could say, the military will buy Teal drones instead of buying DJI drones. Those are direct competitors, even if one of them is maybe not quite in the same tier as the other. But Unusual Machines, that's Fatshark and Rotor Riot. And yes, Rotor Riot is selling FPV drones or wants to sell FPV drones to the military, but FPV drones don't compete with DJI drones. There's some overlap, but they have very different capabilities and very different use cases. So the whole, the reason this is happening is because Trump Jr. is on the, he's not on the board of directors. He is on an advisory board. And as far as I can tell, that advisory board was basically created for him to be on it. But it's different than he's on the board of directors. I think that distinction is worth making. He doesn't have direct control over the decision-making of the company the way he would if he was on the board of directors. So, I mean, certainly there's some relevance there, but I think also there's just some, he was on a golf course somewhere and some money guy came up and was like, hey, you know what you should do? You should invest in this great company. It's called Unusual Machines. You're going to make $1 billion. Yeah, drones, American manufacturing. And he was like, okay. And he gave him $4 million or whatever. I don't necessarily think it's like, and then we'll ban DJI. If Trump Jr. wanted to invest in an American drone company and ban DJI to let that company win, it wouldn't be Unusual Machines. It would be, I don't know, somebody bigger. I don't know. Anyway. Also, that's not that big. His investment of whatever, $4 million, that's not that big of an investment. Like, oh, we're going to kick this multi-billion-dollar company out of the U.S. market, and then I'm going to put $4 million in Rotor Riot, and that's how I'll win all the games. No, come on. Anyway, enough about that. Any more about that, Blunty? We good? Okay. Can you fit the Boxer into its original case after doing the folding antenna mod? I wouldn't know. I haven't used that case ever. I think probably not. But no, I don't put the Boxer in its case, so I have no idea. Good luck. Jimmy the Cow asks, I find myself hoarding analog FPV gear and the DJI ban may or may not happen. I have a pair of Skyzone O4 Pro. What would your recommendation is the second set of analog goggles be for tiny whoops? How much money do you have to spend? Skyzone O4 Pro is a solid analog goggle. It's my pick for budget analog goggle today. O4X is solid, a little more expensive. And then, like, depending on your price sensitivity, the HDZero goggle is really excellent. I would probably just get another O4 Pro. Why could no one get any O4 Pros in the UK at the moment? I don't know. Apparently, DJI is just not shipping them. It's weird. It's a weird world, but no one knows. DJI hasn't said. I've heard from people who probably know that there'll be another drop before the end of the year. However, that's not guaranteed. But I did hear from some people that that's going to happen. I hardly need another excuse to watch a HoltBlackheath video. He is a badass. Excuse me, I have a little bit of hiccups. Hopefully that will not bother anybody too much. Let's see what we got from HoltBlackheath. Videos. Addicted. I'm assuming this is the one you're talking about. I cannot play the music because I don't want to get copyright struck. So I'm just going to play the video and I'll leave. You'll have to go to HoltBlackheath's channel and give him the view if you want the music too. It's less interesting without the music. There we go. Come on, buddy. Oh, we got the sponsors. Always got to get the sponsors in there. Okay, there we go. Oh, you son of a bitch. Oh, you son of a bitch. What the fuck? Okay. Solid. Oh, nice. Nice transition. I like that. Yeah, okay. This feels a little random. Feels a little bit like, yeah, it's kind of cool. There we go. Now I'm impressed. Oh, very nice transitions, Holt. I like it. I like how you're stringing it together. Ooh, got a little water. Oh, that would have been so much better if I could have frickin' seen it! Oh, take the wrong ND filter for this day, son. Hard lesson learned. Oh, that sucks, man. That sucks. God dang, this guy's such a good pilot. Ooh. I like his flying is just a little raw. It doesn't feel clinical and precise and perfect like some of the videos I've seen. I mean this is a compliment. It feels a little raw and on the edge. You know, a little out of control. Like he's hitting all the moves, but it doesn't feel like, it feels like he's working for it. And I kind of like that. There's a sense of tension. Ooh, very nice. Yeah, very nice. Where are we going? Yeah. I couldn't do any better. Those Maddies are clean, though. Here we go. Yeah, that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted. Okay. Okay, that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted you to do. Yes. Cut out the last, like, 30, 40 seconds and just put that in. Now, yeah, I understand. You got a song picked out. It's got to be the length of the song. That's what I wanted. Very nice. Oh, yeah. There it is. Saving the good stuff for the end. Nice. Nice, dude. Okay. Oh, yeah. Really good. Very good. Very good. Why would the FCC approve the DJI Avata for sale in December if that's when the ban is supposed to happen? DJI is not currently on the entities list. The FCC can still issue certificates. When DJI is on the entities list, they will not be able to issue certificates. I don't know. That's it. Are the Eachine EV300D from Banggood still a good option for 260 euros? Since the latency has been fixed. I couldn't say. I mean, I couldn't say. What has the latency been fixed? You say that it has. I'm not really tracking that set of goggles. Oof. I don't know, man. $300. How much is the Sky O4 $300. AliExpress. So these are both China pricing. They're not tariff pricing, but that's apples to apples. Oh, I thought it was 300. Why does it say 420? It's a little bit more. For another $100, I probably would go with the Skyzone because it's a known good quantity, whereas the Eachine is not a. The Skyzone also, I think the Skyzone has a more reliable receiver. Maybe the Eachine receiver is good, but you don't know. I think there's too many questions about the Eachine. Somebody out there has tested the shit out of it and found it to be better than it was. Then so be it. I haven't given it another look since it first came out. Yeah, I would probably get the Skyzone for $100 more. That's what I would say. Yeah, it's been 5 years since I reviewed these goggles. I don't know what's changed. Tornok, thank you for being a patron. This question comes from the Discord. Tornok asks, I have a Radiomaster Pocket and the ELRS screen in the system is stuck on loading. Okay, that means that the radio can't talk to the Express LRS module inside the radio. Pocket was working fine before. I have confirmed internal module is on Crossfire. So lower the baud rate to 400K. That's the first thing I would have you do. You shouldn't have to, but that's a safe option. You say it was working fine before. The other common thing that will cause this is if you don't have an Express LRS module in your radio. Well, in this case, it was working fine, so you know that's not the case. SD, no. I don't think it's your SD card. Yeah. You know you have an Express LRS module. The other thing no, that's not going to work. Never mind. Yeah. Captain Bry. Good to see you in the chat, Captain. Captain Bry is an ELRS dev. Captain Bry says, look to see if it's connecting to Wi-Fi immediately when it's powered up, indicating it has the wrong firmware. Or did you flash it with the wrong firmware? The question would be, guys, can he flash it with USB pass-through? Which, as I understand, if you flash the module with USB pass-through, it puts it into bootloader mode. So you should be able to flash it even if it's bricked. Can he flash it even if the internal module is set wrong or something. He must be able to. So yeah, I would try reflashing it with USB pass-through is another thing. Explain the baud rate thing. The baud rate is how fast the radio talks to the module. Faster baud rate reduces the latency of the link, of the control link, by getting the packets from the radio to the module faster. Slower baud rate, if the baud rate is too slow, you can't support some of the higher ExpressLRS packet rates. I believe 400 kilobaud can take you up to 500 hertz. I think. Maybe 250 hertz. And so then 400 kilobaud is enough for most anything you'd want to do. But going up to 5 megabaud gives you reduced latency, which is nice. It's a good thing. Yeah. We got one here from Elgo1. I just watched the soldering tutorial you did sometime back, but I can't seem to solder 2 wires to a tiny pad properly. What do you recommend? That is very difficult. That's very difficult to say because, like, I don't know what you're doing wrong. There are a million things you could be doing wrong. You watch the soldering tutorial, so you know my recommendations. Make sure your soldering iron tip is clean. Make sure you have a good quality temperature-controlled iron. Make sure you're using flux. Make sure you're using lead-free solder, or sorry, leaded solder. You know, I want to, as long as we're talking about soldering irons. So I've showed on the stream before the best soldering iron you could get today. Like, literally, this is an amazing soldering iron. The JBC is the company. And, no. Come on. JBC soldering. There we go. It's a spectacularly good iron. The power system, oh my God, look at this. Wait, no, go back. Look at this. No, I want to see this. Stop clicking away. I want to see this. Stop it. I'm trying to use your website. Jesus. Cordless battery powered iron. And it's got a readout here where it's showing like I don't know what it's showing. That's so cool. Intelligent heat. Showing the temperature of the tip, I guess. Anyway, but the JBC iron is like $600. Well, funny you mentioned that. There are these Chinese clones. And I started reading up on them. I don't think I'm going to spend $100 to... Maybe I will. I don't know. I'm not sure I'm going to spend $100 to get a better one because I'm doing fine with my my Hakko iron. But if you look, there's some threads on Reddit about the best clone irons. The Yihua, I think, is not the best one. Oh, well. And if you're interested in a good home soldering iron, man, these things are unreal. The Sugon, that's it. The Sugon T21. That was the one I was looking at. $80 on AliExpress. And it just rips off a lot of the design of the JBC, the way the cartridge is in the tip and everything. But it's supposed to have very similar performance and is way cheaper. And I point that out because these things are so good that they make you better at soldering to the point where if you're a beginner, I almost think you shouldn't use them because they make it too easy. And then you get a different soldering iron and you realize you suck. I'd rather you find out you suck early. But if you're interested in knowing that the soldering iron is not your problem, you pick up one of these. They're pretty amazing. Sugan D's. That's funny. The AFN A9. Somebody was complaining about, was it the AFN A9? They were saying something about the grounding of the tip is not right, and they suggested a different one. Anyway, do your research. Let's see here. El Chingon, thank you for being a patron. After building nothing but digital, I'm going to try building a 5-inch analog. I built one 3-inch analog before. Any reasonably affordable 5-inch frames you can recommend? You know, they just released V6 of the TBS Source 1. That's very affordable. The Source 1 is Team Black Sheep's open source freestyle frame. There have been several different versions of it. One thing that's interesting is you can actually download the source files, including the DXFs. You can cut this yourself if you like. Let's have a look at this. I don't know how I feel about these big cutouts on the top plate. Makes me wonder if that's going to be durable. But okay. The arms are inside the bottom plate. Oh, we have a split deck design. Got it. That's nice. Carbon front end with a crossbar. I like that. I like the way these standoffs are holding this whole structure together, sandwiching the camera plates. That's going to be nice and rigid. Yeah, looks like a solid frame. And the price? $30. How about that? Do you think waterproofing the O3 air unit is worth it? No, not at all. DJI equipment is already from the factory more waterproof than anything else on your drone. There are stories of Vistas and original air units being underwater for days at a time and surviving. The boards are conformal coated from the factory. I think you're more likely to screw it up by trying to take it apart and conformal coating it than you are to improve anything. Bradley Lemon says, I'm just getting started in FPV. I purchased the Radiomaster Boxer and I've been practicing in liftoff. I'm looking to build my first drone and would like some advice. Should I go with your 250-gram build or your 5-inch build? Well, the 5-inch kit and the 250-gram kit, or the 3-inch kit. So the main reason to go with the sub 250 kit is if you're concerned about regulations in the USA with that don't kick in until you get over 250 grams. By being under 250 grams, you save yourself from some of those regulations, the registration requirement specifically. And the remote ID, I think also the remote ID. Yes, the remote ID as well. I forget about that one because as a 107 operator, as a commercial operator, I always have to have remote ID, and so I don't think of that one quite as much. But if you're recreational and you're under 250 grams, you're not required to do remote ID. So the flight performance of the 3-inch is different than the 5-inch, but still quite good. You're going to still get plenty of speed and acrobatic ability. I'm not even sure which one's going to be more durable. The 3-inch is lighter, but it has thinner carbon. So I think the 5-inch might be a little more durable depending on how hard you fly it. But you'll be easier to get yourself in trouble on the 5-inch because it has a higher ceiling in terms of its speed and it weighs more. So when you crash, you hit harder. Yeah, I don't think you can go wrong, though. If you've practiced flying in the simulator, then I would be okay. I mean, assuming you actually know how to fly, I would be okay letting you fly either of these, as long as you have the judgment to do so safely. I think the main question is whether you want to be under 250 grams or not.
Yeah, and I'll just say, the thing I always say is it really depends on where you have to fly. So you really need to look at where you are and where you can go fly, how often you're going to get to go there, how often you're going to want to go there to fly, right? Like if you're in a small neighborhood, a 3-inch or even a whoop is a really good place to start. Like I see videos all the time of people flying 5-inch drones over their cul-de-sac, and they're flying over cars, and they're flying over people, and they're flying over houses, and anybody's drone can fail safe at any time. A motor could break, an ESC could fry. It's just bad moves. So you should plan ahead. If you got a big field to fly in, if you got an open acreage, 5-inch is wonderful, and you'll have a lot of fun with it. But just consider where you can go.
Yeah. I would say that if you're going to fly over people and or over vehicles or other property that could be damaged, I mean, I think a plastic frame like a Cinewhoop or a Whoop is the way to go. Like if I crash a 75 millimeter Whoop with a plastic frame on somebody's car, I'm going to be reasonably confident I didn't do any damage. I probably didn't even scratch the paint. But if you crash a 3-inch with a carbon fiber frame, you can ding up somebody's car, Like the real answer is just go somewhere where you don't have to do that. Yep. But if you're in a situation where the only place you have to fly involves some of that risk, then you gotta be real good friends with a Whoop, and at least then if you crash, you're not doing any harm. Any thought on releasing other colors for your build kit? Nope. That's the color it is. Just like Henry Ford, make it in one color, except his was black, mine is purple. That's the color. That's what you get. All right. Let's get super chats out of the way. I see there's someone in the chat who is like trying to get their question answered. And Siati, thank you for letting them know. Yeah, there's 440 people here in the chat, and we got all the questions queued up. But if you want to jump your question to the front of the list, now would be a great time to leave a super chat. Currently, there are 2 super chats. So I'm going to read those super chats, and then I'm going to go back to reading regular chats. But if you want me to read your question right now, leave a super chat, and that's how to do it. I keep breaking the O4 in the Mobula 7 second in a month. No physical damage, it just won't work after a decent crash. I moved everything to a flywoo frame for a more robust frame. Thank you for 10 Canadian dollars. Yeah, I mean, that's the problem with the O4 Lite air unit is its durability. It's really easy to break. Are you doing the reinforcement stuff where you reinforce the connector with like E6000 glue or E7000 something? There's steps you can take to reinforce the O4, and I highly recommend that you do. Here's a super chat. Oh, this is the fellow who was asking for his question to be answered. Yay. Party Vatnagar 5166. Apologize if I mispronounced your name. Thank you for 100 rupees. Sub 250 gram drone with 10-minute flight. O4 Pro. Durable. Switchable with acro. Between acro and GPS position alt hold and 2 kilometers range. Is it possible? Sure. I think the thing that is going to be hardest there is sub 250 and 10 minutes of flight time. I can easily build you a sub 250 drone that has 10 minutes of flight time, but it's not going to be durable. I could easily build you a 300 or 325 gram drone that has 10 minutes of flight time and is durable, but it's not sub 250. I don't think what you're asking there is completely unreasonable, though. Yeah, I don't think that's unreasonable. I think that's pretty close to doable. Adam R. says the DeepSpace SEEKER3 isn't too far from that. DeepSpace Seeker. Yeah. Yeah, got the GPS. Very nice. I suspect you won't get 10 minutes of flight time, but you never know. Maybe if you flew it really carefully. Hey, I just wanted to say, I've learned a shit ton from you and appreciate what you do for the community. Thank you, Flyrat FPV, for $5 super chat. And Salamao Oliveira, thank you for 5 Brazilian reais. After watching your tutorials on FPV at the simulator, I just bought my first drone. I got the Pavo Pico 2 O4 Lite. Thanks for helping. I really liked the way the Pavo Pico 2 O4 Lite flew. I was really impressed with it. Someone said in the chat they felt like I was a little too hard on the Pavo Femto, and they thought it was because it had an O4 Pro in it. Well, that may be, you know. They thought that my review of the Pavo Pico was more in line with what they expected for the line. Maybe so. Let's see. I wonder if Frsky would make a module for the D8 and D16 stuff. You mean like this? I don't know if you can still buy it. XJT 16-channel radio transmitter module. Currently unavailable. You may not be able to buy it. DJT, that's the old D8 stuff. The D8 module, currently unavailable. Okay. All right. Well, maybe what you need is the Radiomaster 4-in-1 module. That'll do D8 and D16. Yep, that's probably the direction I would go. And look at that. It comes with an adapter for the JR bay. Isn't that nice? Yep, so that's probably the direction I would go if you're looking for that. It'll do D8 and D16. But why are you flying D8 and D16? Come on. Get with the times. Thank you, Nuclear Squirrel, for 200, I believe it's Czech Koruna. I'm building an Android app, a budget video out solution for the DJI O3, O4. Plug phone into the goggles, stream the video via the network to other phones or PCs, plus in-app live view. Do you think anyone would pay a few bucks to use it? Sure. Yeah, probably people would pay a few bucks to use that. And then a whole bunch of other people would be pissed at you for daring to charge money for a product that you developed. And you got to live with that if you want to pay the rent. Or maybe you just be an altruistic person and give it away for free. That's up to you, I guess. What's wrong with 3.3 gigahertz video systems? The 3.3 gigahertz frequency band that is legal to use is relatively narrow. Especially in the US, it's extra narrow. There's basically I think there's one channel, maybe two channels, but they overlap. So if you're flying with friends, you can't use 3.3 gigahertz because you'll all stomp on each other. Whereas 5 gigahertz is extremely wide. 3.3 gigahertz antennas are relatively large, and there is a very low selection of 3.3 gigahertz video receivers and video transmitters. That being said, you can get into 3.3 gigahertz and you can get pretty good range by going with it. I may be mixing up 3.3 gigahertz and 1.3 gigahertz in terms of the narrowness of the frequency band. 1.3 gig may be what I'm thinking of, where you only have like one or two channels that overlap. Okay. What do you think of the Walksnail Moonlight compared to the DJI O4 Pro as kind of a lower budget camera? Or should I save up more for the DJI system? There's no comparison. There's just no comparison. The Moonlight is decent. It's not bad. The Moonlight is a solid, like B minus. to DJI's S Plus. B- is pretty good. Nobody else has even gotten a B-. Everybody else is down in the D's, you know? I shouldn't. That's okay. Analog and HDZero people. Okay. I'm talking about what I mean by that. I'm going to get myself in trouble. What I mean by that is, of the people who have tried to copy DJI, which is kind of what Walksnail has done, they have built a system that is very much in DJI's footsteps in terms of how it works. Nobody else has gotten close. Walksnail's gotten somewhat close. HDZero was like, I'm not trying to do, I'm doing my own thing. And I wouldn't grade them on the same scale because they're just doing something very different. Okay. Yeah. But you know, if you're in the United States, I think you have to ask questions about how available DJI will be in the future. And if you're okay with the answer to those questions, then it's going to give you better performance than the Moonlight. And the DJI O4 radio system is going to give better link performance than the Walksnail system. But Walksnail is not terrible. It's not bad. It's pretty decent. Let's just get this straight. 1.3 gigahertz. How many channels does it have? In the US, you have 2 channels. That's what I remembered. Internationally, you have more channels, but they overlap. They overlap. So you can't have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pilots in the air at the same time. I think. 40 megahertz. What are the raceband channels? Raceband 5658, 5695 minus 5658, 37. Oh, that's about the same. 5732 minus 5695, 37. Oh, okay. I take it back. I am wrong. 1160. These are 40 megahertz apart. That's about the same as the spacing of raceband. Okay, so internationally, you do have 9 usable channels. Maybe 5 usable channels if you want 2 channels of separation. 1258 to 1280. It's only 22 megahertz. That's not enough. So I was right. In the US, there are 2 channels, but you can only use one of them at a time. Internationally, you use more channels. So, as far as 3.3 gigahertz, $16 channels, 2 bands of 8 channels each. Oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty impressive. Is it legal? Like with a ham license? So these overlap, 3320 to 3310, 3345 to 3330. Yeah, it looks like you'll pick either Group A or Group B. Dip switches to change the channel. Jeez. How long has that been? GEPRC Maton 3.3G. That's something. 4 watt, 3.3 gig, $40. Damn. What kind of antennas it got? $65. Just check the legality of using it. Does GEPRC make one? GEPRC Maton 3.3 gig 3 watt. There you go. That's more down in the size I would be looking for. What's an antenna though? What antenna does it come with? Does it come with an antenna? Come on. probably supports smart audio. It does. You would need a VTX table and channel set. That's very interesting. That antenna's even pretty reasonable. How big is it? Compared to the okay, it's chunky. Look at the size of the antenna relative to the SMA. Yeah, it's going to be a chunky antenna, but not like the end of the world. I bet there's smaller ones. Huh. There you go. That's more feasible than I gave it credit for originally. Yeah, Singularity 3.3. That's interesting. The other question is, well, so you need a receiver. Where are you going to get the receiver module? Yeah, so here's GEPRC's FPV receiver. The question is, like, will you get better range out of a well-designed 5.8 gigahertz receiver module versus a maybe not as well designed 3.3 gigahertz one? That's very interesting, though. That might be worth a test. Figure out the legality, make a video about it. I didn't realize there were that many channels available. That has opened my eyes a little bit. All right. Well, thank you for asking. I'm just getting into FPV. Why is there no VTX receiver units and then you buy the goggles separately? You can buy a separate standalone receiver unit. Most people want it integrated into the goggles just for compactness, and so that's how they sell them. I mean, you could buy a standalone receiver unit, like, for example, Get FPV was where I last saw this. Yep, that's what I'm looking for. Bingo. So this is a standalone FPV module adapter. You plug your own FPV receiver module into it, and it outputs to your goggles. If that's what you want to do, more power to you. You output to a screen. Yeah, you can do that. Any suggestions for my build with less FT non-kits? Thank you for 40 more rupees. My build with less FT non-kits. I'm having trouble parsing this question. Blunty, do you have any idea?
Nope.
No, I can't. I can't.
Flight time. That's not a kit.
He wants... Oh, he wants a sub 250 yada yada yada, but not a kit. I mean, you like a parts list?
You mean a bind and fly or a parts list? Which description do you mean non-kit?
He is asking... Well, I gave him a bind and fly. And when he says non-kit, does he mean he doesn't want to bind and fly, or does he mean he does want to bind and fly?
He said parts list.
Oh. Oh, man. I don't know if I'm going to come up with, like, I mean, a parts list, you know, DIY. I got to tell you, down in that 3-inch category, the bind and flies are pretty good. You know, I think I would probably, like, in a 5-inch, I might DIY, but down in 3 inches and below, it's very tempting to just buy a bind and fly. Yeah. I'm not sure I have suggestions for, like, good parts. What I would do is I would pick a bind and fly that I liked, and I would, like, look at the size of the motors and so forth and think about buying them. But at that point, you may as well just buy the bind and fly. It's going to be cheaper. Slaughter Bartfast says that the 3 gigahertz ham band shrunk recently and there's not much room there anymore. Oh. Oh well. Skesix have you had a chance to look at the new NDAA stuff from Divimath? Yeah. So Divimath, the parent company of HDZero, started manufacturing NDAA compliant video systems. This is basically HDZero stuff, but it is manufactured in an NDAA compliant country. Like, for example, the goggles don't have Wi-Fi and Bluetooth in them. They must not have the ESP32 backpack. They don't have backpack functionality, so the wireless stuff is removed. And then there's a price markup because everything NDAA comes with a price markup. That price markup looks to be about 40%. Yeah.
They've also added encryption, just in case you don't know.
That's right. So they have encryption. The video system and the goggles have encryption over the air. So you can't just tune in your goggles and pick up the feed. Like, I don't see why this is much interest to hobbyists, since hobbyists don't really want to pay a premium for NDAA, most of them. This is pretty explicitly to give them the opportunity to go after government contracts, U.S. government contracts. And more power to them. More power to them. One of the coolest things they've got going on here is this HDMI receiver. That's pretty slick. You can plug in an HDMI video source and it broadcasts it out as an HDZero transmission. So if you have an HDZero receiver, you can just put any camera or any HDMI source. It could be your computer screen. That is pretty freaking slick. I think that at $300, the key thing about this, like most HDZero stuff, the key thing is the low latency. So like you can get an HDMI wireless device off of Amazon for $100. It's going to have terrible latency. It might have compression, like some kind of motion compression or something, JPEG or MP4 compression. Who knows? But it's going to, get the job done. This is for cases where you want low latency. So you could put a cinema camera on your FPV drone and fly with it. 1 millisecond latency. Pretty slick. As far as the, that's the wrong source. As far as the NDAA stuff goes, like, yeah, it's out there. The question would be, if you are a government customer who needs to buy NDAA stuff, what is your mission for which HDZero is the best suited result? And then you would be like, thank God I can buy NDAA stuff. Whereas like Walksnail, DJI, Analog, that's the thing. None of that stuff is NDAA. Like the Analog stuff, I'm pretty sure the rich wave chip that the Analog VTXs use, it can't be NDAA. Like there are real roadblocks.
We discussed this last week. There are NDAA VTXs Analog. We looked at these last week. Remember?
No, apparently not. Now it's coming back to me.
TBS has one, the Unify Pro, Aura VTX has one, Fatshark has one.
Oh, yeah. No, I remember that. Great. Just rewind that part. Cut that out. Walksnail? No, not Walksnail though, right?
Correct. So, I don't know that Walksnail has one.
So, it's interesting because those guys are more and more going to be getting into the FPV world. And like, what video systems are they going to use? There are some elements of the U.S. government, of the military, that are able to get exemptions and are allowed to use. They get special exceptions, but that that's a relatively small. So like, I only say this, like I saw a Facebook post just a couple of days ago, and it was U.S. Army Rangers, and they were doing FPV stuff. Just some pictures. Somebody had posted some pictures. And I'm pretty sure they had Walksnail goggles on. I was like, oh, that's interesting. That's not NDAA. Who knows what they were doing and what their circumstances were, but that's not normal, right? As it gets to larger, the big army, as they call it, it's going to have to be NDAA. So what is it going to be? HDZero, analog, or some third option? Who knows? It's very cool that it exists. Scotty Not Hottie says SOCOM is soliciting bids for an FPV drone training program. Who do you think's going to win it? Unusual Machines? I have no idea. I mean, there's probably some company that you've never heard of. Like, I'll tell you why I know of this company in a minute. You ever heard of this company? You probably haven't. Oak Grove. Uncrewed systems training in North Carolina, including basic, advanced, and custom military-grade drone tactics, PBAS, purpose-built, that's the keyword for kamikaze drones, PBAS. Look at them all with their HDZero goggles on. No shit. How about that? And I only know about this company because someone reached out to me once upon a time, and he said, hi, you don't know me. I just went to a training program at Oak Grove, and I think you should know that the instructors just put your videos on at the top front, and then they went and stood in the back of the class. And they were like, just watch this dude. I just thought you'd like to know. And I was like, oh, that's very interesting. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's an old story and it happened one time. I don't know if this, I'm not vouching for I'm just saying someone contacted me once and said that this was happening. And I was like, who the frick is Oak Grove? Who are these guys? So I went and looked them up. Hey, Oak Grove, do you know that the Chimera is already made by... iFlight already sells a drone called the Chimera? No? You can't call it the Chimera, Oak Grove. Anyway, it'll probably be some company like this that wins that bid. The Chimera Kit. Your selected drone. FPV goggles. Batteries. A TX16S. An old one. Ooh, a Tango 2. With Crossfire. Okay. Ooh, you gotta have a Pelican case, guys. It's not ruggedized if it doesn't have a Pelican case. Anyway. Yeah, here's their DUNS number and their cage code. That means they bid on government contracts. That's who's going to win that SOCOM. I don't know who's going to win it. Somebody's going to win it. Will it be Unusual Machines? Does Unusual Machines have a training program? Maybe they do. I don't know. Super Guy wants to know, am I correct that the Fatshark VTX is a Foxeer? Okay. I don't know. I'm going to be real... Oh, that's the wrong one. I'm going to be real careful about this because I don't want to, spread misinformation, but also I heard a rumor. It's funny that you say that. Someone, Rotor Riot, Fatshark, and I should say that Fatshark has denied that this is the case. So, explicitly. But once upon a time, when Fatshark released the Brave F7, little birdie came to me and said, Foxeer designed that. That's just a Foxeer. And what if they did? What if they did? I don't care. Hire someone to design your shit. Rotor Riot says that's not true. Okay? But it's funny to me that you say, oh, that Fatshark VTX sure looks like a Foxeer VTX, doesn't it? Not exactly. Not exactly. It's just funny to me that you said that. That's twice, that rumor. And it's actually fairly substantially different. So, I don't know. Just funny to me that you said that. Who knows?
Is it possible that was technically just omission because somebody else makes Foxeer's boards? Technically, Foxeer didn't make it if somebody makes Foxeer's boards.
No, but they named the designer. And I don't remember who the designer is, so I'm not going to I'm going to definitely rein myself in at this point. They named the designer, and they were like, nope, designed and manufactured in America. Foxeer had nothing to do with it. That's probably even true. A lot of rumors go around. I just thought it was funny that 2 rumors popped up in the exact same direction. That's all. Yeah. Anyway, I know who's not going to win that SOCOM bid. SOCOM. Special Operations Command? Knoxville Hillside Handyman. Thank you for a $20 super chat. I randomly saw and got the DYS 7-inch O3 waterproof bind and fly on Amazon. It actually came with pool noodles for the floaties. Any thoughts on it? And I'm flying it up and down the Tennessee River with visual observers on board. I mean, if it's waterproof and it's got floaties, more power to you flying it over the river. You know, airspace restrictions and so forth. I don't think there's any inherent reason why you're not allowed to fly it over the river. DYS waterproof. What is it? 7-inch S7XV1? Is it this one? It can't be a whole drone for $100. Shut up. That's not possible. It can't come with the O3. That can't be right. That's got to just be like the frame. Yeah, no, it doesn't have motors. Okay, great. I saw the antenna connectors and was like, huh. Yeah. I can't come with the O3 for that price. Are you finding a bind and fly one somewhere? Yeah, there you go. O3 $699. Oh, it's not going to load the page. Oh, what's going on with this website? Okay, I don't like this. I'm getting sketched out by the website. Yeah, I don't see any reason why you can't fly it up and down the river. Just check the airspace. Make sure there's no flight restrictions or anything. Yeah. What do you think about MEPSking motors and ESCs? Thank you for 6 euros. Harold dedicated. I don't know a lot about their motors and ESCs, but I know they did some shady marketing shit back in the day, and it put a bad taste in my mouth, and I haven't wanted a single thing to do with them ever since. Shady marketing shit like, Blunty, help me out. Weird.
Oh, they doxed a pilot.
They doxed a pilot?
Yep.
I knew you'd remember the details. You always bring the receipts.
I don't even want to remember. I don't want to say his name so that we don't even you can look it up. But we made a video about it a while back, like a long time ago. If you really care, you could look it up on the Clips channel. Yeah, basically they did a bunch of shady stuff on top of each other. They sent out contracts to people and said you can't say bad things about the company. And then when they were called out for it, they doxed a pilot, at least one pilot confirmed, and maybe multiple other pilots through fake accounts they created on different social media platforms. And that was basically very clearly, obviously them. So, allegedly, whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
I think I think it's just left a bad taste in a lot of pilots' mouths who were around at that time. They may be doing good products now, but a lot of us don't associate with them because of those situations. And they never put out an apology. They never made anything right. They never corrected anything. They never admitted anything. They just moved on with their day and kept doing what they were doing.
Yeah. I remember that they were giving out products in exchange for a review, but then they were insisting that they needed to see your video, and basically they were skewing the reviews. And so there were a lot of people who were just like, oh, MEPSking motors, best motors, great motors. And it was not there's always a little bit of give and take when you're getting product in exchange for a video. Like some people are a little more brutal, and eventually, like Madstech, the vendors are like, well, I don't want to talk to you anymore because you keep shitting on my product. You know, I try to find a balance between giving people what they need to know and not just absolutely shitting all over somebody's product, you know, trying to maintain a mutually beneficial relationship, by which I mean beneficial for the viewer and beneficial for the manufacturer. If there's a problem with a product, then you say, oh, there's a problem, and then hopefully they make it better. If there's an absolute deal breaker of a product, then you call them out on it. But I felt like MEPSking was trying to skew that relationship and basically giving motors to pilots who were very small and not really, wouldn't normally have gotten a sponsorship, giving them a set of motors and saying, okay, but you gotta just glaze these motors. And there were a whole bunch of people, and then it came out, oh, what they were actually doing. And it's like, okay, well, if you have to market that hard and that dishonestly, then is your product any freaking good? So, I don't know. Yeah. So I just said maybe they make a good product, but the company itself seems so shady that I don't really give them a second look these days. Mads chooses violence every time. He is a consumer watchdog. So I will, and I have to find the right way to say this because, like, obviously Madstech is everything he does for the right reasons. And I love it when he is just like, oh my God, I found this thing. I can't believe this. And he just absolutely roasts somebody. And he always is looking out for the individuals. There have been times when I've watched a video of his and thought, whoa, coming in a little hot there, buddy. You know, and he's going to do him, you know, that's his prerogative. I certainly have thought, I've certainly had that thought. And I think there may have been a time or two, without going into specifics, where he went off a little half-cocked and maybe even, I might even remember a time when he had to take a video down and do a retraction. Me too. So, like, I definitely think he has earned every bit of every company who is like, F this guy, he just roasts our stuff and he's no good for our business. He's earned it. And that is good for his viewers. But there definitely have been times I've been like, ooh, I would maybe have phrased that a little more politically. And maybe that makes me a worse reviewer. Anyway. I love him, though. I love him. I wouldn't change a thing. You know, I'm sure he wouldn't either. Yeah. Thank you for a $5 super chat from First State FPV. I'm looking to purchase a 1S quad to fly indoors or outdoors. What's your first choice? Beta FPV Air 75 would be on my list. Happy Model Mobula 7 would be on my list, but I think the Air 65 is a little more refined. I would say for outdoors, I would want to go 75. 65 is okay outdoors. Arguably, 65 is better outdoors than 75 is indoors, although I know that's a topic of some controversy. Meteor 65. You know what? The safe bet would be a Beta FPV Air 65 or Meteor 65 or Happy Model 6. All of them are good. A safe bet would be to get one of them. You can still fly them outdoors, you know. They're going to be way better indoors, though. And then if you're going to be more outdoors than indoors, go 75. Air 75, Beta FPV Air 75, Mobula 7, or Happy Model... Mobula 7 or Meteor 75. Well, Ciati, thank you for calling it a perfect answer, but I stole it from you. Everything I know about micros I got from Ciati. What if you were building a 5-inch, but not sub 250? 5-inch with 10 minutes flight time. Yeah, so for 5-inch, I would probably go to my website and look at the page about 5-inch freestyle drones. Here's the URL, fpvknowitall.com. And I got a bunch of recommendations for 5-inch kit in here, including frames, flight controllers, motors. Yeah, that's probably the direction I would have you go. As far as getting long flight time, you're just gonna need a big battery and not fly, you know, get a 2000 milliamp hour 6S and you'll probably get 10 minutes of flight time. You're going to do better with a 6-inch than a 5-inch, though, if flight time is your concern. I would consider going up to 6-inch, honestly. Mike Julio is going to start the Not Josh Bardwell Training System, LLC. Get all those government contracts. Get all the SOCOM money. Do it. Do it. Don't do it. Don't take my name. I cannot condone that. The Ron Johnson says, I just bought your sub 250 gram 3-inch build and was wondering how to know where restricted airspace is and where is it safe to fly. What do you look for when choosing a spot to fly? I would love to actually help you with that information. Let me see if I can get this camera. Hold on. Give me 1 second to get this camera started up. And if I do overhead cam, does it just magically work? No. Damn, why is it not working? Hold on 1 second. Is it the wrong source? Hold on. There we go. Lovely. And then I have to transform, rotate 180 degrees. There we go. Great. That didn't take very long. Thank you for bearing with me on that. Almost like I'm do this professionally. So I want to show you, how do you know where it's legal to fly? Huh, why is my face cam not here? Hold on. Video capture device, add existing, head background remove. No, that's not right. Remove. It's going to be a group. Group, add existing, no. NS headcam green screen. Scene? There it is. NS headcam green screen. There we go. Perfect. Sorry about that, guys. Hey. Okay. How do you know where to fly is the question. So there's a bunch of different apps that can help you with this. The one that I use is called Autopilot because anything that makes a joke about the, the Reddit, subreddit, pilot. I don't know. Anyway, that's why I've picked this one. It seems to work pretty well for me. And what you're going to do with this app is you are going to tap on the map wherever you want to fly. So here I am. And my place. Look, it's a Freya. Look, that's my Freya. It's marked on the map. Shut up. Is that right? Oh my God, my Freya is in the app. That's so fun. Oh my God, that's so fun. I love it. I didn't actually know that. I've never noticed that before. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to tap on the map where you want to fly. You're going to put this little marker, and it's going to tell you. And if we look here, it says clear to fly, uncontrolled airspace, rules for daylight operations, TFR, etc. You're good to go. Right? Now, if we go over here, it says fly with approval. What does that mean? Well, You must have approval from Knoxville McGee-Tyson Airport, Class C up to 400 feet. So what this is telling me is that I can fly up to 400 feet in this location, but I have to get Lance approval. Well, how do you get Lance approval? What you do is you hit continue. You put in your mission altitude. Well, I'm going to go all the way up to 400 feet. Screw you. You hit continue and you submit. I'm not going to submit because I'm not going to get, I mean, it doesn't really matter. But let's do it. Let's submit. What the hell? Doesn't matter. Submit. And what it's doing is it's going to a central database and it's telling, I guess I don't 100% know what it's doing. I think it's telling the tower over at Knoxville Airport, hey, there's a dude flying over here up to 400 feet. You know, now you're good to go. Your request was approved by the FAA. You may fly. Great. I'm good to go. Shut up. Okay. So, in answer to the question, how do you know where it's legal to fly? The place I would start is with an app like this one. Or this one. And it will help you out. And if this app says you're clear to fly, that's probably a pretty good bet that you're clear to fly. Go ahead, Blunty.
Just to add to that, basically, if you get Lance approval in an area, like if it's all good on your map, the only thing you should really check is TFRs right before you leave for the flight or start the flight.
Mm-hmm. Well, the autopilot app, it'll tell you about any TFRs, but there might be like a fresh one that just popped up.
Sorry, you're breaking up really bad for me. I'm not sure why.
I'd say, like the autopilot app, like here's a flight location where we're going to have some restrictions. And if I fly through, do not fly, restricted airspace. It's got all the lists of the reasons why I'm not allowed to fly.
So the FAA will tell you officially you cannot just use the app. TFRs are not guaranteed to be on the app. You must use the TFR website. That's the official answer. That's that's all I can say.
Yeah, I mean, I have seen TFRs in the app, but you're saying that the absence of a TFR is not sufficient. So where is this website TFR app?
Yeah, the tfr.faa.gov.
So tfr.faa.gov.
Yeah.
And
they have a map and then a search thing up in TFR map there you can look at.
I can see the TFRs, huh? Okay. Okay, well, it doesn't look like there's any TFRs near me. Nashville, Oak Ridge, Knoxville. No TFRs.
And then I think it gives you like a 2-day window, but there's no guarantee an emergency TFR doesn't pop up. So the way the way we've always been told, talking to the FAA, is that as long as you've checked the TFR when you started the flight or right before you left to start the flight, basically within the beginning of the flight window, just like a real pilot isn't always guaranteed to check emergency TFRs after they've taken off.
Right.
You don't necessarily, like if you fly through an emergency TFR after you've checked and it was activated after you started flight, you technically shouldn't get in trouble, or you'll at least have some leeway there. So that's what the onus they expect you to have. That's all I'll say.
Okay. Yeah, there you go. So check the autopilot app and then check for TFRs, technically. Now, there may be other restrictions. Those are the FAA restrictions, the federal restrictions. There have been more and more like states, cities, counties creating rules about where you can fly. And the way they do it is, well, they're not allowed to regulate the airspace. That's the FAA's domain, purview. But some of them do it anyway. They just pass a law that says, you know, and in a perfect world, the FAA would sue them and say, you can't do that. That often doesn't happen. And sometimes these rules are enforced. But the other thing is what they'll do is they'll regulate takeoffs and landings. So the FAA controls the airspace, but a takeoff or a landing happens on the ground. So they'll say, well, we can't regulate the airspace, but you're not allowed to take off or land from within this park. And there's not a lot you can do about that. So this app, we've outlined, will give you the federal rules, but you need to do your own research about local rules if you want to. Like, so there's a lot of can't fly in city parks as a Koala FPV points out, etc. So there you go.
Can you click on the YouTube chat or scroll down?
What's happened? No, the YouTube chat is scrolling down. Oh, this one? No, it's keeping up.
Oh, my stream elements is frozen. Or social stream, rather.
Okay. I appreciate this super chat from Harold Dedicated. Thank you for €6. I'm searching for European producers. I found an open source drone from GoFly Pro and its FPV. What cool European companies are out there? One that comes to mind is Orca FPV. They're in Croatia now. Tony Cake is, I believe he is Swiss. Yeah. I heard about this one, Atreides. DARPA is doing a civilian drone challenge. You have up to a 55-pound drone that must carry 100 pounds, and I believe it's the longest time. That's pretty. I mean, obviously the drone is going to be 54.9999 pounds, right? You're going to pack as much battery on there as you can. Must carry 100 pounds for the longest time. That's really interesting. $6.5 million in prizes. Mm-hmm.
Brandon says, when there's differences like that where they prohibit takeoff and landing, can you still fly if starting on private property? Yes, but remember, they can make up whatever rules they want, essentially, that apply to you in that area, right? So maybe otherwise, like, they have a noise ordinance, or they have wildlife in the area, right? Or you're disturbing people, right? There's ways that they can write you into local ordinances, surveillance, right? That are going to cover that aren't the FAA rule. And some of them will even try to still do the FAA rule to get you out of the air, and then you have to go to court and fight them and take it up a couple levels in court. So no matter what, it's going to be trouble and costly in a lot of cases if they don't want you to be there. That's sort of the situation.
Yeah. As they say, you can beat the ticket, but you can't beat the ride. If there's somewhere where they want to F with you, they're going to F with you. That 100-pound challenge, I'm being told by Mattercat, is a 30-minute time limit, 5-mile course. Is that the 100-pound challenge? Blue Sky says, not time, very specific distance and height. Okay. Let's look it up. DARPA Lift Challenge. Sorry, I just was trying to talk shit. I didn't know you wanted facts. 6.5 mil in prize money. 4-to-1 payload to weight ratio. Lift challenge, no more than 55 pounds, including fuel or power source, lifting a minimum payload of 110 pounds across the set 5 nautical mile course. 5 nautical miles. Okay, so there's a specific course. Teams must strictly adhere to FAA regulations. That's why there's a 55-pound limit, I guess. How about that? We got any cool drones?
Hi, I'm Philip Smith, call sign Donna. As program
Unless you're a fighter pilot, you don't get a call sign. You better be a fighter pilot. If you're a drone pilot and you introduce yourself as, I'm Joshua Bardwell, call sign know-it-all, you're a giant nerd. Don't do that. You can have a nickname. You can have a pilot handle. You don't have a call sign. Nobody calls you because call sign is over the radio.
managers at DARPA, we're always
He could be a fighter pilot. He looks like one. Shut up. Okay, fine. He was an AV-8B Harrier pilot. I had to know. You're allowed to have a call sign. I'm sure you appreciate my permission to have a call sign.
Always trying to push the boundaries of what.
What'd you say, Blenty?
Chad is pointing out the 55-pound limit can't apply to the rules because they're carrying 110 pounds.
Well, shit, you're right, Blunty. You're going to be over the 55-pound limit. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, so if we're following FAA regulations and we're over 55 pounds, what does that mean? You got to have a waiver?
Yes.
Well, I'm out.
What's possible. That's why I'm thrilled to announce the DARPA Lift Challenge. This exciting
You gotta lift these nuts, am I right?
competition is all about discovering groundbreaking designs that can revolutionize the payload to weight ratio in vertical lift aviation. We're going to host practice in designs that
That's what I wanted. That's what I'm here for.
Paradigm of payload to weight ratios.
I'm here for drones lifting heavy shit.
As you may know, today's multi-rotor drones are limited in usability by their low payload to weight ratios, often performing at around 1-to-1 or even less than that. This means that as payload requirements increase, so does the size and the cost of the drone. With the Lift Challenge, our goal is to dramatically increase the useful load, which will then drive down the cost per pound of transported cargo. And here's the best part. We've designed the competition to encourage mass participation. All engineering program join for instruction, logistics. Statistically, does this challenge?
What's the payload to weight ratio of like what is the payload to weight ratio of a Chinook? 0.52. Well, maximum payload 27, maximum gross weight of 50,000 pounds. Why are we getting like a 4-to-1 payload to weight ratio out of a drone? C-130. Let's skip a helicopter. 0.26 and 0.29. Why is a drone? Am I insane here, Blunty? Why do they want a drone to have a 4-to-1 payload to weight ratio when manned aircraft, like full-scale aircraft with giant jet fuel engines, have payload to weight ratios around 0.5 to 0.26? Seems like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm missing there.
I mean, clearly they say they have evidence that it's doable, right? That literally says that on the page.
DARPA
right?
usually isn't completely full of shit in what they're trying to achieve. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm missing.
Some kind of documentation or information that they understand, and they're crowdsourcing it for some reason.
Yeah. Anyway, back to the stream. Oh my god, we have so many questions. Okay, we'll get on it. We've got a couple super chats that have come in. First Date FPV is looking for decent analog goggles. Blunty, we went over analog goggles like 2 streams ago. Has that gone up on the Livestream Clips channel yet? Do you know?
No, that'll be tomorrow or the day after.
Okay. So, decent analog goggles. Thank you for a $5 super chat. Short answer, HDZero if you have all the HDZero V2 goggles if you have all the money in the world to spend. Their internal module is very good. Skyzone Sky O4X if you want to spend slightly less money and get a worse goggle, but a little smaller and more compact, and it's a Skyzone. Skyzone O4O if you want to save a little bit of money. That's where I would recommend you short version. If you want to check out the Joshua Bardwell Livestream Clips channel, this is where all those Livestream clips you've been seeing. People say Bardwell publishes so many clip videos now. That's a whole separate channel, guys. I did a much more in-depth talk through of this question. And it's going to go up on the Clips channel, Blunty says, tomorrow. So. Equilibrium Films asks, how do I fix an issue where my motors won't idle when arming? Motors will start when I give it throttle. I tried turning the idle speed to 40%. You should never need your idle speed that high. If your idle speed is higher, like on some really extreme situations, I've seen idle speed as high as 9%, which is really high. You should not need idle speed to be that high. I'm going to assume you're using D-Shot. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, he just flashed it to Blue Jay. The issue started when he flashed to Blue Jay. I asked in chat to make
021?
sure. Yeah, so you need to, with the newest version of Blue Jay, you need to go in and change the startup power. So there's 2 startup power levels. The technical way to do it is bump them up each 10 or 20, save, and then try again. With very small drones, you can typically go up like 50 or 100, that first bump, and then work from there. You just don't want to go too high, because if you go too high, it'll start fine, but then if you get into a crash situation, you can fry a motor or ESC, because there's too much power being shoved through it, that's all.
Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah, if you have Blue Jay 021, that's definitely the issue, the startup power. And it doesn't matter what your idle speed is then, you just can't get the motor spinning is the problem. Alrighty, let's see what else we can knock out before the end of the stream. We got about 20 more minutes of stream to go. Can you fly a 5-inch with a lithium-ion pack and the next pack fly a LiPo without changing anything? Thank you, Mudcase, for that question. Yes, you can. The only thing that you really is different between them is the low voltage threshold. On a LiPo, your warning is around 3.5 volts. Your land now is around 3.3 volts, and your absolute minimum is around 3.0 volts. On a lithium ion pack, your warning is around 3.3 volts. Your land now is around 3.0 volts, and your absolute minimum is, well, your absolute minimum is 2.5, but in my experience, somewhere around 2.6, 2.7, let's say 2.7 is where it really starts to fall out of the sky. So what I'll do is I'll usually just leave it at the LiPo settings, and if I'm flying a lithium ion, when it starts saying land now, I'll be like, shut up, it's fine. Unfortunately, there's no way to automatically make that change, or make that change like with a switch or in the OSD or anything. You have to go into the configurator and change it. So if you go back and forth between lithium ion and lithium polymer, you're just not going to have the right battery threshold half the time. You cannot put the warnings on a switch that changes the threshold. There is no way to change the threshold except to go into the GUI or the CLI. Are there any new top-of-the-line analog cameras that you would recommend? Mike O. Honestly, Mike, I'm not sure how much innovation there's been in analog cameras. Super Guy showed the Foxeer T-Rex, which has been a fantastic analog camera for a long time. Then there's also the Joshua Bardwell Runcam Phoenix, which I like a little better than the T-Rex, but, well, certainly the price is a lot more friendly. The resolution of the Phoenix is not quite as high, but I think the quality of the image is a little bit better, a little more suited to my taste. I'll just say that. Both of these are 2 of the top analog FPV cameras you can get today, and that hasn't changed for a long time. What's the deal with DJI removing geofencing worldwide? I don't think this move is as malicious as people have made it out to be. People have seen this move and they've been like, DJI, bad actor, removing geofencing. They want people to fly in dangerous places and be risky. When DJI removed the geofencing from the United States, we talked about, sorry, I got a little in my nose. We talked about how they're not required to geofence. Ultimately, the U.S. law says that it is on the pilot to determine if it's safe to fly where they're going to fly. And there were lots of situations where pilots were legally able to fly, but the geofencing prevented them from doing it. They were pretty annoyed. there were probably also plenty of places where boneheads were going to do something dumb and geofencing saved the day. So I'm not trying to present an unrealistic picture of the pros and cons of geofencing. And then there was a situation where someone flew their DJI drone and they had to ground firefighting planes, and this person got in big trouble. And it was pointed out that the flight restriction, the TFR, was an emergency TFR that was set up at the last minute. And so the DJI software did not geofence him to prevent him from flying over the forest fire. And a question was raised, well, if you've got this safety, if DJI pilots get in the habit of thinking the app will tell me if I'm not allowed to fly here, then there's a forest fire. You power up your DJI drone. Well, it says I'm allowed to fly. I guess I must be allowed to fly. And I think there's a perspective where as DJI, you go, yeah, absolutely. We're giving our users this false sense of security. We're preventing authorized users from flying in places where they have authorization to fly. And then there's this weird middle ground where people think it's okay to fly, but it's really not. Maybe we should just get the hell out of the middle, you know? Now, certainly DJI could have tried to be more proactive and say, you know, what if they popped up a message and said, you are not in a geofenced area, but you still need to check before you fly. Like, they could have chosen to be more proactive, but they're not legally required to be more proactive. And at some point, I think they just were like, you know what? We're just going to get out of this business and we're going to leave it between the users and their government. And they made that decision in Europe, and then they made that decision in the US. And that decision in the US was coincidentally timed around the time when people were talking about a ban. So this was the time when DJI was the most interested in looking like a good actor and trying to do things to reform their image. And they were like, well, I don't think we need to be doing this. And now they've done it worldwide. Will it result in more boneheads flying their drones places where they shouldn't fly them? Probably. Probably. But ultimately, it's not DJI's obligation to prevent that. And if the United States or Europe or a European country or China or whoever wants it to be DJI's obligation to prevent drones from taking off, they can pass a law establishing that requirement. And then DJI will decide what they need to do about it. But they haven't. So I think that you could imagine a world where DJI is like, you're going to ban us? Fine. We're going to take our ball and go home. We're not going to geofence. Good luck. But if that was the case, they could have removed geofencing just for the US and nowhere else. And they didn't do that. So I don't think this is a targeted thing. I just think DJI is like, we're not going to geofence. Geofencing is only minimally effective anyway. We're just going to let people deal with it. I'm buying a new transmitter for RC planes, and I'll probably start flying too, FPV too. Which budget-friendly transmitter do you recommend? Radiomaster Pocket is a good go-to choice for a budget-friendly transmitter. It may not be ideal for planes. Does it have trim switches? I'm looking if it has trim switches. Oh, God. Oh, God. I just want a picture. I don't want all that nonsense. It doesn't have trim switch. It does. Those trim switches, those little rockers right there. I think they are. It's hard to tell. I have one over in the drawer behind me. But now I'm not going to go look just out of sheer stubbornness. Yeah, I think it's going to be okay. Radiomaster Pocket is my choice. Get the Express LRS version, not the CC2500 version. And fly all your planes with Express LRS receivers. It's going to be great. is there a big difference between cheaper and more expensive controllers, like the Radiomaster Pocket versus the T12? Yeah, absolutely. The fit and finish on the more expensive ones like the T12 is better. The gimbals are much higher quality. You have a bigger screen. The buttons feel nicer. Yeah. I mean, is it worth the price difference? The Radiomaster Pocket is a fine radio, but yes, you definitely get some things when you go to the... it has more output power. You definitely get some things, for sure. Got a question here I want to take from Sunshine. Sunshine asks, with RX values in the OSD, I'm comfortable with RSSI DBM, but what about LQ? If my LQ is 7/100, what's my failsafe threshold? So the first thing you need to know, in case you don't know it, is that the first number in the LQ, the 7:100, the 7 is your packet rate. It has nothing to do with when you're about to failsafe or not. It's just as you change your packet rate, that number will change. And, you know, if you know your 7 is 250 hertz, I happen to know that because I fly 250 a lot. So that first number tells you what packet rate's selected. The second number is your LQ. And I would say that an LQ between 90 and 100, green light, zero issue, might as well be 100. You're going to see some normal variance from 95, 97, 100, 92 maybe. Anything between 90 and 100, don't even think twice about it. Between 80 and 90 is still fine, but like maybe a little bit yellow light. And then below 80 is like orange light. I might fail safe. And then somewhere, well, probably not between 70 and 80, probably somewhere below 70. But the problem is that as you get to the edge of range, it drops off quickly. So you'll be at like 75, and then suddenly it'll go 40, 75. And one of those times it's going to dip and it's not going to come back. So, yeah. I would say as long as you're above 80, you're more than fine. Somewhere below 80, certainly below 70 is where it'll fail safe.
I'll say this is typically why, if you really want to get figuring it out, you add the third thing, which is SNR.
Yeah.
And because SNR tells you, like, hey, am I near the noise cliff of where I'm going to see that huge drop off, or am I just in a little bit of dip right now?
Yeah.
And if you're getting close on your SNR where you're getting to that drop off, then you're going to want to be super more careful. It's just a better indicator to tell you.
Yep.
And just to know, like, Express LRS trusts that enough to use SNR as the increase in power level, right?
Yep.
That's how it knows how to increase dynamic power. So it is a good metric you can use, but I always tell it as a third thing. Like, if you want a third thing to look at, this is what to do.
Well, honestly, I would say that LQ is the first thing. If I had one thing, it'd be LQ. Because LQ is the sort of synthesis of all of the metrics that make up your link, right? Ultimately, if your LQ is 100, all your packets are getting through, you're good to go. The second thing I would want is SNR. Because SNR tells you how close to the noise floor you're getting. And SNR, you could, like, if you know you need an SNR of, say, minus 3 dB, and you're at like minus 1 dB, even if your LQ is still good, you could sort of be like, oh, I'm getting pretty close to the cliff there. You know, realistically, you probably would see some reduction in LQ at that SNR, but, yeah, if I'm at 95 LQ and my SNR is 6 dB, I don't even think about fail-safing. Like, unless I just fly behind a building or something dumb, I'm just fine, right? If my LQ is in the 80s and I'm at like minus 1, then I'm like, oh, I'm closer to the edge. Go ahead.
And also, I know I mentioned it, but dynamic power uses SNR to go up. So you're going to see SNR change, and then it's going to go down, and then it's going to hit a level and then bump back up when your power goes back up. So just be aware of that.
That's one of the reasons I don't like dynamic power. Is I'll see the LQ drop and then bounce back up as dynamic power increases. Then I'll see the LQ drop and then bounce back up. And it's like, it's really distracting because my brain is trained that when I see LQ get down below 80, I'm like, oh, sure, I need to be careful. And I don't like seeing that happen. And then it bounces back up because like it's very distracting to me. And one of these times I'll already be at max power and it won't bounce back up. And then what? So I actually don't like to use dynamic power for that reason. The third and least useful thing would be RSSI dBm, which is the raw signal strength. And the reason that's not that useful is that it doesn't tell you anything about the noise level. So if I'm in a very noisy environment, I might have a noise level of around minus 100 dBm. But if I'm in a very quiet environment, I might have a noise level of around minus 115 dBm. And so my RSSI dBm is telling me what my signal level is, but not what the noise level is, and it doesn't really tell me anything about whether I'm about to failsafe. The place where RSSI dBm is most useful is if you think you have damaged hardware, a damaged antenna or a damaged transmitter. You put the drone on the table, you put the transmitter 1 meter from the drone, you set your transmit power to the lowest level, and then you look at the RSSI dBm, and if it is within a certain nominal range, then you know you have a good antenna. And if it's way outside that range, you suspect you have a bad antenna. But as far as predicting when I'm going to fail safe, I don't think RSSI dBm is that useful. The only place I use RSSI dBm in the real world is I power up the drone, I set it down on the ground, and just before I take off, I glance at the RSSI dBm, and I know that it's usually minus 40, minus 45. Whatever it is, you look, because you may have a different output power, you may have whatever. And if I plug in the drone, set it on the ground, power up, I glance at the RSSI dBm, and instead of minus 45, it's at like minus 65, I'm like, oh, hold on, I have a bad antenna, something's not right, I should not fly. That's how I use RSSI. But then once I start flying, I don't even pay attention to RSSI dBm. It's all LQ and SNR.
You hear what Bri said in chat. He said in ExpressLRS 4.0, I use the statistics to dynamically adjust the SNR threshold for when dynamic power changes.
That's cool. Excuse me. Oh, this guy's always making things cool. I got a $10 super chat from Skydar FPV who asks, what's the best low light FPV setup for night flying? You can get, well, so if you go analog, there are very, very low light cameras. The Runcam Night Eagle, for example. Let me see if I can actually find a video about it. Has Joshua Bardwell? It's been a while. Let's pick TronCat FPV.
Check it out.
No music, though. I don't want to see an unboxing. Don't care. Oh my god, you still haven't shown me the product. There we go. Thank you. So, here we go. Runcam Night Eagle HD. No infrared light. This is just off the ambient lighting. And like, if you have like the least amount of ambient lighting, the Runcam Night Eagle. Oh, hang on. This is DJI. What are you talking about? This is the Runcam Night Eagle HD. Well, okay. This is a digital system. This is the wrong camera. This is working with, it's got to be a Vista. I'm pretty sure. It's not the O3. Nevertheless, OSD freaked me out there for a minute. Okay, so that's the Night Eagle. Let me see if I can find an analog Night Eagle. Night Eagle 3. Yeah, here you go. Here's the analog one. Even better. Like, you get just a ridiculous amount of light sucked into this sensor. You know, like, it's hard for me to explain to you. Like, the fact that you can see these clouds in the sky, that's just dark night sky in real life. It just does an amazing job of picking up the ambient light. And then if you combine that with an infrared light, an infrared emitter, it's insane. So, yeah, here he's removed the infrared filter. That's why this is all purple. And then probably he's going to use an infrared light. There it is, with the infrared filter in place. There you can see, there's the infrared filter on the Phoenix. Night Eagle has no infrared filter, I guess. And that's why that one looked pink. Anyway, so analog can do some insane shit. Now Walksnail has this camera, the Pro camera. And the Pro camera show me it. It's pretty good, but it's not quite as good. Nevertheless, we're picking up these stars in the sky. It's pretty good. It's hard to convey just how dark this field is because the camera is making it look lighter than it is. It was a cold night. This was a very cold night. This is not... yeah. Here it is. Here's the Pro camera in relative darkness. And then Walksnail also has the... what's the name of the night camera? Here's the Caddx Infra. Now this is, again, for the Walksnail system. And it's a true, like, starlight camera. It's very good. Well, this is not the best place. There we go. Here we go. As we go out here, like, again, it's hard to convey. This is just, it's very dark. But the shadows from the house, the shadows from the moon.
Those black bands are from your Wi-Fi, right?
No, that's from the motors.
Oh, the motors. Okay.
Yeah, I would guess that's from the motors, not the Wi-Fi. Yeah, so that's Walksnail. As far as HDZero goes, they also have some good low light cameras. Here, let's look at Nick Burns. We're not getting any previews here. I don't know why. Should be nighttime, nighttime, nighttime. Starlight, HDZero, show me nighttime. Okay. Well, I guess that's it. Hard to know. Because I didn't shoot this, it's hard to know just how dark this really is. You know. Yeah. And then DJI, not a lot of great options for low light. You can do okay with the DJI O3 and O4 if you remove the IR filter, but you're likely to destroy the camera if you do it. It's pretty difficult to do. I do know a couple of people who've done it. But the low light performance of DJI, if you combine it with an infrared light, it can be okay, but just pure low light performance is nowhere near analog, Walksnail, and HDZero. So, the Radix official says, if I want to get into analog from Walksnail, I know the HDZero is a good goggle. Should I use TBS Fusion or Crossfire for freestyle? Neither. You should use the built-in module in the HDZero Goggle V2. It's very good. It's all you need. It's my official opinion. I stand by it. Oh, God. Did we go over the end of the stream plenty? I was having so much fun. I lost track. Let's do 5 more minutes to take a couple more questions. What the heck? Am I going to do another Hot One stream for the holidays? Doubt it. That was fun, though. Let's see here. My Express LRS Happy Model EP2 receiver binds on the computer. There is movement in the receiver tab, but when I try to fly, nothing happens. You have turtle mode active. So when you arm, nothing happens. You raise the throttle, nothing happens. If you move the right stick, pitch and roll, do the motor spin, it's because you have turtle mode active. That's just my quick guess as to what's wrong. Is it worth it to swap to Walksnail Avatar with the new Ascent system coming out? I don't think that the Ascent system is being targeted at the same user base as the Walksnail system. And even if it was, I suspect it'll take a little while before it can perform at the same level. So I think that if you're an FPV pilot doing freestyle racing, etc., then you should stick with the Walksnail Avatar system. The new Ascent system is too new to really make decisions about. Can I use my 5-inch parts for a 6 or 7-inch drone? Yes. If you go to 7 inches, you will need to be very careful with the motors. 2207 motors on a 5-inch are not going to do great on 7-inch props, although they probably won't fry immediately. If you're interested in long range, though, I would especially upgrade the motors to a lower kV motor and a bigger motor, like a 29 millimeter motor around 1300 kV. Why would a flight controller brick in midair? No idea. Physical damage, really no idea. What could be causing it? Don't buy that flight controller anymore. Here's a question from Mupshot, who's a Discord. He's in the Discord, is a patron, so we got to get that. It's from way earlier in the stream, though. I don't even know if Mupshot's still here. Why do my Happy Model Super X HD AIO ESC stop working when I upgrade to Blue Jay 2.1? Same target, then I flash back to 19. The motors still don't spin anymore.
He got it working. He flashed back to 21, and now it's working. And then we talked about up in the startup power. So I believe we're okay.
Okay, great. All right. All right, well, that is going to bring us to the end of the stream. I will see you tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern time for another stream. Yeah. Wow, we just cooked through that. I barely noticed the time go by. And, oh, look at what time it is. Look at this beautiful... I don't know, guys. What do you think? I'm not so sure how I feel about the color of this dial. It's supposed to be enamel white. Here, wait. Oh, I got this camera. Let me go to this camera. Hold on. It's supposed to be... No, come on now. I fixed that. I turned the camera off? Oh, well, that'll do it. No? Is the camera not got battery? Oh, that'll do it. Yeah, okay. I guess you got to charge the battery up every now and then. Huh. Okay, well, never mind. It's supposed to be enamel white, and it came in kind of an unfinished. I asked for a sterile dial, unfinished, and it came, and it's kind of like, it's not enamel white. I don't know. I can't decide. And that, I can't tell how I feel about it. It's clean. It's kind of like mother of pearl. It's a little bit like mother of pearl. It's just I know what I wanted it to be. You know? I know what I wanted it to be, and it's not what I wanted it to be. Eggshell, yeah. The problem, the lesson is that like I'm chasing my tail with this watch, trying to get it where I want it to be. I destroyed the, I didn't mention that I destroyed the movement. I accidentally destroyed the movement by being dumb when I was trying to set the hands. So I bought a new movement because I will not accept defeat. So I probably got $50 for the dial that was the wrong size, $60-$70 for the movement just out of pure stubbornness. I've probably got almost $200 trying to fix the 670, 175 maybe just trying to get this dang watch back in the shape it was in before I screwed it up the first time. Maybe I should quit while I'm ahead, is my point. That's what I think. Anyway, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Happy flying, everybody.